You're listening to Panthers on Tap. I'm Curtis Rauen, joined by Bryson Karbley. We're just two fans sharing our love for the game and Carolina Panthers football. So join us, crack open a cold one, some bubbly, a little wine, some scotch. We don't care, whatever makes you sleep better at night. Before we dive into the episode, a little self-promotion. Stop what you're doing. Go give us a follow on Twitter at Panthers on Tap. Join the discussion on our Facebook group. We have over 2,500 members. You can listen to us wherever you get your podcast. Just search Panthers on Tap. We are back after the holiday break, Christmas, New Year's. Had a little time off in between there. Bryce Young has his coming out game, it seems like, versus the Packers. So we missed that a little bit. But Bryson, how was your Christmas and New Year's Eve and New Year's Day?
Yeah, it was good. It was low key. We stayed local here in Raleigh, and we got to see some friends and a little bit of family, but didn't travel this year. Just decided to stay home, and it was nice not having to stress about going to see different family members and spending time with them and traveling so much. So yeah, for both the holidays, Christmas and New Year's, we were local, and on New Year's Eve, I fell asleep at 10 o'clock, so I didn't even get to see the ball drop.
Yeah, we went up to Wisconsin. Got to see both families. The weather was good. Was just kind of shocking. No snow.
Yeah,
and of
crazy.
course, the last day when we flew home, it started snowing. So, but yeah, it was good. It was good to take a break. Had to deal with the sitting in a room with, like, I would say 7 to 10 Packers fans watching that Panthers game. Thank goodness it was kind of back and forth, high scoring, entertaining. Bryce Young played his best game, so that was good to see. Obviously, it was a heartbreaker at the end that they lost, but let's move on from that. Let's get to this week, because this game has been really taken over from David Tepper, at the hands of David Tepper, literally. So let's talk about it. And we all know by now, he threw a drink at a fan. Wasn't a lot of liquid in that cup, Bryson, but enough to do $300,000 worth of damage. So let's talk about it. Just your reaction to David Tepper's throwing. We'll get to his apology and everything else, but when you saw that video, what was going through your head?
I didn't think it was real at first. I mean, I thought it was so something that you think that your owner wouldn't do. Like, it's like so out of this world imaginable that, like, man, there's no way that my billionaire owner is throwing a drink at a Jaguars fan at a game. But yeah, it happened. And honestly, if any owner is going to do it, I'm not surprised that it was David Tepper, because he's so entitled and so thinks he's above the law pretty much in regards to anything really in the football world. And, it's just a microcosm of the way that he operates. And, I've seen a lot of people make the point that if he does this, in front of people with, obviously being recorded, I can't imagine what he's like behind closed doors and those meetings that Frank Reich was having with him every week. And God, it's troublesome because it worries me, because who is going to want to work with David Tepper when these are the things that your owner, your boss is doing on a weekly basis. And yeah, okay, if you have a head coach that's winning, he's probably not throwing drinks at people, but there's no telling what he would do, in any situation. And he is the worst owner in the NFL right now. I don't think that there's one specifically that I can think of. Jerry Jones, at least he's got a winning team and he's done a decent job at being the GM/owner. David Tepper has no clue what he's doing, and he's just digging the Carolina Panthers into a deeper hole every week. When you think that you can't be more embarrassed to be a Carolina Panthers fan, my God, yes, you can. And it's just unfortunate.
Yeah, I think Mad Dog Russo put it best on ESPN. He's a clown. I mean, I don't know what else to say. When I saw it, my initial reaction was he should not be mad at anyone but himself. Like, childish. I don't think I'd ever go to that level. I mean, even as a fan, like we've had some squabbles ourselves with some fans, but it has never gotten to that point. And I don't know. It was childish. And as an owner, you're set to a higher standard, obviously higher than everyone else. Even your dogs think so. And so, I mean, it was. I'm not surprised, though. I really am not. I mean, this season we talked about rock bottom. We've talked with Edgar about rock bottom heavily over these last couple of weeks, just on Twitter and stuff. And man, it's just week after week that bar just keeps getting lower and lower and lower. And for David Tepper to act like this in an away team stadium it's just stupid, and it's such a bad look. And he's already down a notch with all the other teams that have head coach openings, and now he's just making things even worse. I mean, I didn't think it could get worse, and it has gotten worse since he's fired Frank Reich as like for an opening for a team that a coach wants to go after. So it sucks. It really does to be a Panthers fan right now, because it's just another notch in the belt to a really shitty season. Let's talk about Scott Fitterer in the video before we get to the apology, the four sentence apology. Dude, Scott Fitterer just stands there and just stares at the guy. I don't know what the hell was up there. I mean, I saw someone say I think they posted it like a day or two ago. I was like, Scott Fitterer has not moved yet. And I was laughing my ass off. Like what the hell was he doing? I think he was just so taken aback that he didn't know what to do. I don't know.
Yeah, and it makes sense. You know, he's standing there doing nothing while David Tepper is freaking out, because I think that's kind of what Scott Fitterer has done throughout his career in Carolina, is that David Tepper pulls the strings and Scott Fitterer does nothing. And maybe, you know, overall that's what it's been in Carolina since Scott Fitterer's been there. It's been Matt Rule or David Tepper, and I'm sure Scott Fitterer's had some say on some things, but Scott Fitterer is your stereotypical yes man. I mean, he's not he's well liked around the league. You know, that's been very well reported. He's well liked around the league. I think he's a really nice guy. Seems like a genuine dude, but I think when it comes to having to put his foot down or you know, have an opinion on something, he just kind of goes with the flow, and he's a yes man, and that's why another report, Scott Fitterer and David Tepper have a good relationship, because I'm sure Scott Fitterer gives in to his every demand. And I think just in that video, you can tell Scott Fitterer is not going to say anything to David Tepper that's going to make him mad or, you know, disagree with him. And unfortunately, that's what's probably gotten us into the situation that we're in Carolina. And, you know, hopefully that changes with a new GM and a new head coach, and David Tepper takes a step back, because that's the only hope that we have as a Panthers fan. Either he takes a step back or he sells the team, and I don't think he's selling the team anytime soon. So, yeah, Scott Fitterer's role in that video is probably the same as his role has been in Carolina since he's walked in the door.
Let's talk about Tepper's apology for a second. He released it, what was it, yesterday, I think it was, when he put it out. But it says, I'm deeply passionate about this team and regret my behavior on Sunday. I should have let NFL stadium security handle any issues that arose. I respect the NFL's code of conduct and accept the league's discipline for my behavior. We already know what the discipline is, $200,000. He really didn't apologize for what he did in the statement. What do you think of the penalty? And what do you think of his apology, I guess, or his statement?
Yeah, the man's worth $20 billion. He was fined $300,000. That's, if you make $100,000, that's like getting fined $15. You know, it's not any amount of money that he's worried about. He would probably pay that easily to throw drinks on more people. His apology was half-assed. He's not taking responsibility. That's just like a microcosm of his time in Carolina. He takes no responsibility for anything that's happened in Carolina. He makes excuses that he's got other things going on, like the soccer team and bringing concerts to Charlotte, and he takes no responsibility for the issues that he's caused for his main event that he came to Carolina for, the Carolina Panthers. And, I mean, it just – I used to be kind of a Tepper, not apologist, but I didn't hate him. Even throughout the season, I haven't really hated him because I've seen the things that he has done to try to make this a better team. But he makes it so hard week in and week out when he's going. He has 10-minute press conferences after we haven't heard from him for a year, and then he throws drinks on other fans, and he's just a smug, rich billionaire that takes no responsibility for his actions. And when me and you day to day, or all of us day to day, have to take responsibility for our actions at work, if we were to do something like that, we would be fired, we would be reprimanded, we'd be suspended. It's not fair that he's held to a different standard, and the Carolina Panthers fandom, the fans here in Charlotte and around the country that are Panthers fans, have to take the blunt of it and wear that hat or wear this hoodie, and everybody's asking us, what do you think about David Tepper throwing a drink on the fans? Like that's embarrassing. Like, well, I don't want to talk about my owner. Like, I don't care what my owner, like, I shouldn't have to even mention my owner when talking about the Carolina Panthers to other NFL fans. Like, what other team besides the Cowboys are you? I can barely name owners in the league, and everybody knows the Carolina Panthers owner, and that's an issue because it's bad publicity for David Tepper that's got him a well-known name. And I can only imagine, with fans, they know his I'm trying to think of the word. They know his personality and the thing he's known around the league for. God, I cannot wait to hear what potential coaches think of him that are in the league, that have connections, that people in Carolina are sending text messages to Ben Johnson about how it is to work with David Tepper. I would love to see those text messages and what was sent, because like we mentioned at the start of the show, this is what he does in public. Behind closed doors, he's probably 10 times worse and 10 times more of an asshole, and takes 10 times less responsibility of his actions that he's, caused throughout Carolina and his time here. So yeah, really, really, really just upset, and I'm done defending him at all. Like, I'm on the train with sell the team, get him out of Charlotte. The dude's been a cancer since he stepped foot in the Carolinas.
Yeah, he's got a lot of making up to do. I mean, he's dug himself such a damn deep hole that I don't know how in the foreseeable future he's going to get out of it, because at this point he has done so much damage, and it is such a tough sell to get someone in here to be a coach. But thankfully there's 32 jobs, so someone's going to have to take it, but it's probably not going to be the hottest candidates out there, unfortunately, even though I'm stubborn and will still try to believe that. But that's kind of where it's at. But yeah, that's it. I mean, what he did really clouded the entire game, and kind of really summed up the entire season of what a shit show it has been as a Panthers fan. But we got to talk about the game because they got shut out. I think we both can agree. We love Bryce Young as much as anyone, and we'll defend him. But this was by far his worst game of his career, hands down, across the board. He missed receivers. I think there was 4 passing yards in the first half. 4 fucking passing yards. After you put up 300 yards against the Packers, and I get it, they're a pretty shitty defense. But Jacksonville isn't that far behind statistically. I think they're like 26 in the league overall. So this should have been a game where the offense put up points. And I know Bryce Young, there was some drops in there too that we'll probably talk about, but he missed some guys, and he had one notably. He had the famous Aaron Rodgers throw the tablet on the ground like video. Bryce Young has that now. Frustrated on the sidelines. He had a big miss over the middle of the Mingo. So just offense, I thought this was rock bottom for this team this year offensively. And that is tough to say because it's been bad this whole season.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was not a good game, but again, when you look at everything in totality for that game, every third down he was getting sacked. Every third down they were in third and long. Icky was giving up a sack. Icky was awful. I mean, he is a total liability on this offensive line. And Bryce even got hurt and came back in that game. And because Icky continues to struggle at left tackle, this is a guy that you spent a top 10 pick on at this position a year ago, and he has not developed. He has regressed, and he is looking like someone that needs to move inside to guard or be a backup because he has been terrible. And when you have a rookie quarterback, you need your left tackle to be playing decent football, and Icky has not been playing decent football. And then even throughout the offensive line, really they all struggled. Josh Allen and freaking Trayvon Walker had a field day, just wrecking Bryce's world. I mean, it really just set the tone, and I think it ruined the whole entire game for Bryce, knowing that he has no time to throw, that Josh Allen or Trayvon's going to be in his face, and I hated it for him. And yeah, he missed some throws too. I mean, it's not all the offensive line, but yeah, I think it was just when you take everything into consideration, it's hard to have confidence to make any throw when you have no confidence in your offensive line. And I think in that Green Bay game, he had a lot of confidence because Green Bay wasn't getting to him, and I think that showed. And I think that if he had that same confidence in this game, then it would have been a different game, I think, overall for Bryce. But yeah, he had some misses. He had that one to DJ Chark that was a deep ball when they were backed up on their own side of the field. He had the one to Mingo that I remember notably. But, I did like seeing a little bit of that. You mentioned the tablet. I like seeing that from him. He's always this mellow, even kill guy. And to see a little bit of that attitude, of that, that want to win, that will to win, I like seeing that from Bryce. And I think that his teammates, I'm sure, like it too. He wants to win. Bottom, at the end of the day, he wants to win. And, that's what he mentioned in the presser after he had his best game of his NFL career versus the Packers. He wasn't happy because they didn't win. And, I hate it for Bryce because Chark had three drops in a row that were all catchable balls that Bryce threw to him. Thielen didn't have a great game. Mingo didn't have a great game. He has no weapons, man, and it's so depressing. And Chark comes off this really good game versus Green Bay and then drops 3 catchable balls in a row. It just, I mean, the one pass that sticks out to me the most is that beautiful kind of just arching throw, almost a touchdown, but right before the end zone that Bryce threw to Chark. That was 100% catchable for an NFL wide receiver. It was right on the money. It was a perfect pass, and Chark drops it. It's frustrating. It is definitely a sum of the season for Carolina. Drops, offensive line can't block, and then when the wide receiver either can catch the ball or the offensive line blocks, then Bryce misses the pass on occasion. And it's hard to get everything working together at once. And I can imagine that, having a new coaching staff or having a new head coach and getting Frank out and then kind of implementing a new offensive style has complicated things for everyone. And I think just kind of getting into the offseason, getting a new head coach in place and working in a new playbook that's somewhat competent on the NFL level, unlike Frank's was, then I think that's going to help Bryce tremendously going into next season.
Yeah, I wanted to mention this. Mike K put this out. I think it was a day or two ago. It was actually today, but this is a crazy stat. So Bryce Young sacked 59 times for a loss of 451 yards. To put that in perspective, Mingo in 15 games put up 418 yards. So it's just like, it's crazy. And what needs to be studied, you mentioned it a little bit, the downfall of Ike Ekwonu is insane to me. Like, I get it, and we've talked about and we've used the excuse, and we've been hard on Ike, obviously, this year, but we've used the excuse, well, it's a new system, they're pass heavy, he's more of a run blocking left tackle or better fit for the run block, and run blocking. And it's just sophomore slump. I don't even think it's the right word. I mean, this is like teetering bust, like ridiculous how bad he is.
Yeah.
And I think he had interviewed, I can't remember who he interviewed with, but he said, this season has really been humbling for him, which it should be. I mean, it's so bad that Carolina literally might have to go back in, or probably have to go back in and go out and get a left tackle, which they picked this guy 6 overall. That's crazy to me that, and we all know the struggle of finding a left tackle. It's not easy. Like you don't find those guys in the late rounds typically. Like those guys go usually towards the top of the draft. It's really hard to find them, and you can go out and maybe get a free agent. But that's even sometimes hard because half those time those guys are just retreads and they're injured half the time. So, man, it's going to be tough sledding this offseason for whoever the GM is, figuring out what this offense line is going to do, because he is just the start of what this team and how bad this offensive line is. I mean, and the guard positions you don't even have to mention, and those are in hell right now too. So, yeah, the Ike Ekwonu downfall is crazy. It's shitty. It's really shitty for this team because that is the one position you need to solidify with when you go out and get a quarterback like Bryce Young, and they're nowhere near that right now. So that was one thing I just wanted to touch on. You already mentioned the wide receiver drops. I had made a graphic. We might as well pull it up just to look at it because I don't put much stock into this, honestly, because they gave Ike Ekwonu some crazy grades that he does not deserve whatsoever. That's why people need to take PFF with a grain of salt, because when you see this graphic, you're going to fucking laugh, to say the least. Let me just throw these out here.
Yeah, absolutely not. No way. Did they watch the game?
That's what they have up there.
Jesus Christ. I mean, run blocking, I'm sure, was decent, but no way. No way that pass blocking grade, he was the second highest graded. He was awful. He was terrible. The whole game, he was getting beat by the simplest moves from Josh Allen or whoever was lined up across from him. I mean,
yeah.
I don't understand. I would love.
I almost didn't put this graphic up because I was like, there is no way in hell this is even remotely accurate. Gabe Jackson obviously gave up a sack. I didn't put Nash Jensen in here, or Cade Mays in here. He also played. I think it was. Was he at right guard when he came in or left guard? I can't remember. There's so many guys playing guards lately and switching between right and left. It's been so damn hard, but he played about 20 snaps. I think his numbers were not good. I think they were mostly either in the orange or red. So, again, this offensive line has been the story all year besides the shitty wide receivers. And, man, it's been tough sledding all freaking year long.
Yeah, they need major upgrades pretty much everywhere on offense to help Bryce Young, and they got their work cut out for them for this GM that's coming in, hopefully, in Carolina, because, yeah, I mean, there's not many positions on this offensive line or wide receiver room that doesn't need an upgrade. I mean, Taylor Moton, he's been good all year. You keep him at right tackle. Every other position on that offensive line could be upgraded. Obviously, they need a wide receiver 1 and probably a wide receiver 2. Running back can be upgraded. Chuba's good, but he's not really an all-star running back that is a 3-down kind of breakaway speed kind of guy that can take over a game, and your tight ends can always be upgraded as well. So, I mean, this offense has just been bad all year, and Bryce has I think not developed because of that in regards to making the progress that you hope that he would in his first year. And last game was a really not this most recent one, but the Green Bay game was a really good game, and I thought for sure he was coming into the Jags game and gonna continue to build off of that versus a bad Jags defense. But like we talked about, the offensive line just kind of let him down, and it was just downhill from there. And I think surrounding Bryce with a competent offensive line and decent weapons has to be priority number one this offseason. And I think that if you have to sacrifice some defensive pieces for that, that is 100% what you have to do. And the most important position on this team is quarterback. Most important position on any team is quarterback. And especially for this team that's invested the number 1 overall pick in the 2024 draft in Bryce Young, they have to make sure that he progresses and improves and has everything that he needs to do that. So There's no excuses. You got to do what you got to do and surround Bryce Young with the talent that he needs to progress.
Yeah, let's talk about the defense here, because this game was brutal for them too. I feel like the worst defensive performance of the year, just looking at who they were facing. And CJ Beathard, I mean, the guy hasn't played in forever, and he shined. He had that 20-yard run that was just embarrassing, making guys miss. You have the ETN play that comes to mind where he ripped that one off for like 60 or whatever so yards and like 3 or 4 missed tackles. It looked like guys were giving up. Like, it was like you never saw that last year under Steve Wilkes and his staff and what he demanded of those guys. And this team they just looked defeated all across the board in this game. And it was brutal. It really was. Brian Burns went out. He had the 1 sack, but he went out. JC Horn was supposed to play and then told coaches no type thing. Like, it was just a weird, I just feel like from the jump, it was just a weird vibe all around. Like, Eddie, like, mysteriously, I didn't see this because I was in the airport traveling back, so I didn't get to see a lot of the pregame, but like mysteriously went out with an injury before. I don't know if they talked about that much before the game. And then all of a sudden, Bryce Young's got to go for it. They probably would have had a field goal out of the day. Yeah. But just like, it's just a whole weird start to like everything for a away game to me.
Yeah, I agree. It was weird vibes throughout the whole entire game. JC Horn going back to being a part-time employee, doesn't even earn PTO for the Carolina Panthers because he doesn't play. I mean, they could have really used him in that game for sure. They had an AJ Parker who was just elevated from the practice squad, playing pretty much the whole game at corner 2 for the Panthers. It was a tough game for the defense. There's no way around it. A play that made me really mad, and I know you're going to call me a hater, but the one where Brian Burns had CJ Beathard in the backfield and CJ Beathard juked him, and then Brian Burns face masked him. Like, come on, why is CJ Beathard juking you and you're losing him and you have to face mask and then they get 15 yards? I mean, I was so frustrated with the defense in the offense. I mean, neither side of the ball was good, obviously, but the defense, we expected more because they were playing a backup quarterback, and the defense has been decent all year. And this was by far their worst game. Travis Etienne killed them. And it seems like CJ Beathard was just nickel and diming them all game. 5 yard, 10 yard, 5 yard, 10 yard, 5 yard, 10 yard. Then he'd break off a run for 10. Then he'd go right back to the passing game. 5 yard, 10 yard. They kept playing off coverage. I hate the off coverage stuff. I understand actually why they did it in this game though, because they have 4th and 5th string corners. Like,
then no one. And what's with CJ Henderson not playing healthy scratch? Like, that was a boneheaded move. And I get it, they were banking off JC Horn playing, but that guy should have been out there. Like, that was crazy to me. And I know he's not the greatest, but he's better than bringing some guy up that hasn't played on this team at all. Like,
yeah,
just stupid shit all around.
It's frustrating. So I mean, the defense was just another disappointment. And I had hope again this year. Maybe this is another game that the team's going to look good and we can build off of. And yet again, they continue to let me down game after game after game. And I mean, this is the most disappointing season I've ever had for a professional franchise sports team in my existence. We all had high hopes for the season, and to come away with 2 wins, your team just looked completely incompetent. Your owner throwing drinks on people. I mean, I have never been more embarrassed to be a Carolina Panthers fan, and I hope it's only up from here. But I think that every week, and we continue to go down somehow. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens. But may God be with us versus the Bucks.
Yeah. And I don't know if you've really thought about this or not, but it seems like the Panthers are one of the only teams that this happens to. But their kickers mysteriously get hurt like before games. It happens like once a year.
Yeah.
And I don't remember a team that's ever dealt with this where like literally in pregame, Eddie gets hurt, pulls a hamstring, like grade 1, is going to be out 2 to 3 weeks, it sounds like. That happens like right before the game. You have no time to prep. And then last year, or maybe it wasn't last year, I can't remember, but it was either last year or the year before, you had Zane Gonzalez that it happened to. And they had no backup plan whatsoever for it. And that was a complete, like when you start a game like that, it just creates a whole, it's just a big old fucking mess. It really is.
And the crazy thing to me is they talked about Hecker, and Hecker's range was 20 yards and in.
Yeah, I saw that.
I could kick a field goal 20 yards and in. Like, what the fuck is Johnny Hecker doing? Like, how is that your range when you're a punter?
We were at the draft. We ain't kicking 20-yard field goals.
All right, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I mean, a 20-yard field goal is not hard. If I was an NFL player, especially a punter in the NFL, I'm sure I could kick a 20-yard field goal.
Yeah, I thought this when I saw that, I'm like, really? Like I figured it'd be a little bit longer, but you got to remember, like those guys don't practice that shit. I mean, they're strictly on their craft. But yeah, no, I was a little bit shocked too. I'm like, damn, that guy could come on, he can kick more, he can get farther than that.
Give me a 30 at least, damn.
But yeah, that game is one you literally. You take the film all back and chuck that shit as far as you can, because that's how bad. I mean, that was just brutal across the board. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about some reports. We got a little bit of breaking news coming up here too that just came in. Some actual good news about this team. So stay tuned for that. But let's talk about this. This came out today. I posted this on Twitter. But Jeremy Fowler said today in this weekly, like the Buzz article that ESPN puts out, that many people believe Panthers will move on from Scott Fitterer at some point. Let me go more into that and give a little bit more context, because the article, which you, I think, alluded to earlier, said that Fitterer is well liked in the franchise and has a good relationship with Tepper. Kind of points to the yes man mentality. But then the article goes on to say that Tepper is known to value analytics, so that could be a factor in the search. And it's possible he hires a coach. He hires a coach before he decides anything on a general manager. So kind of a half-ass backwards approach. I think this has happened before, and teams have been successful doing it this way, but it's more common to go GM and then coach and find someone who is well connected with both guys. So I thought it was telling that he said at some point, because I think a lot of us are hoping for it to be at the end of the season, and he could be wrong. I mean, these people are putting out what they hear from sourcing. So what you hear from one source, another source tells you something else. So, but I've seen this come up now a couple times where reporters have almost kind of hinted or alluded to this might not happen right away. And I think Joe Person did as well in a recent article that this could happen down the road. So I think I'm just warning fans that this could not, it might not happen right away if it does. And this is just it that keeps coming up more and more in what I've been reading. So I don't like it. I think this needs to be done. I think this should have been done already. Like, have someone else, have Adrian Wilson or Dan Morgan handle the stuff in the interim, and then you can get rid of who you want to get rid of at the end of the season. But to keep Scott around, I don't agree with it. And he has had way too many blunders. We've talked about him numerous times on this podcast of all the shit that he has done and trades and all the fuck ups. And it is time for him to go. And I really, really hope he does not stick around at all.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can see the draw to not firing him immediately and going with the head coach first, because it could be a positive in the eyes of that head coach that, you know, maybe they're coming in with, if they decide to keep Scott Fitterer, that the head coach is going to have say pretty much over the whole roster. that, he's pretty much going to be the GM/head coach, with Scott Fitterer having the title general manager, but not making those decisions ultimately. I'm kind of in that role. So if that's what Ben Johnson wants, or if that's what Jim Harbaugh wants, or that's what whoever, completely wiping the slate clean, whole entire scouting department, everybody's gone, a whole coaching staff. I even want Evero out. I want everyone out. I want top to bottom fresh start. You got to wipe this out of the existence of the Carolina Panthers. You cannot have this stain lingering around. I think that it's important to hire, I think, both of them at the same time, the GM and the head coach, two guys that are on the same page with each other, that have the same vision for the Carolina Panthers, that have a good working relationship, and then just build from there. I mean, you got to start at the bottom and fill it out, and I think that's what they should do. I don't have confidence in that. I don't have confidence in David Tepper making the right decision in anything out in the football world. So yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that they're saying that it might be a minute before Scott's fired, because it sounds like Scott is a yes man for David Tepper, and he likes that. He's I can't remember who reported it, but anybody that disagreed with Tepper is no longer with the Carolina Panthers. It's not surprising that Scott Fitterer is still around, because he, again, is that yes man that doesn't tell David Tepper what's wrong and what's right. He just says yes, and that's what Tepper likes, obviously. So I'm hoping, God forbid, Scott Fitterer sticks around. I feel bad, because he is a nice guy, and we've talked to him personally before games. Like, he's super nice, interacts with fans, but ultimately you got to pay the piper for the lack of success you've had at your job as a general manager, and it's been really bad. Your drafts have been really bad. Your free agency signings have been really bad. And we're seeing the culmination of that in this season right now. And I'm sorry, but you're just not a general manager. You can go back to whatever you were doing before in Seattle, or whatever makes you happy, but you're a millionaire, I'm sure, and you're going to be all right. But I think your time is up in Carolina.
Yeah, and I'll reiterate what you said. Love the man, don't like what he's done as a general manager. Like, I don't know GMs that would have the type of relationship that he had with fans on the sidelines. I don't think you'd get that from a GM. I don't know if that's accurate, but that's just my perspective. Like, yeah. He was very willing to share and talk with fans, drunken fans like myself on the sidelines, or whatever you want to call them. But like, he would talk to us. So I give him credit for that. I love that about him. But at solely his job, the general manager, it was not efficient enough whatsoever. And we can list the moves that he has screwed up over and over in the trades and the contracts and all this other, like, there are situations that he put the Panthers in that really have put them in a really tight box and have cornered them, and they haven't been able to get out of it. I will say they have gotten out of the cap hell that they were in from Marty Herney and Dave Gettleman in the money situation, because they're actually going to have money to spend. I think Samir Suleiman deserves probably a lot of credit for that, because he is kind of the numbers guy when it comes to some of that stuff. So that would be one positive, but it is time for a new start. And I forgot to mention this in the Fowler reporting. He did say there's several in-house candidates with plenty of experience, which was interesting. I don't know if he's just making an observation with that, and that could be what it is. But he mentioned Samir Suleiman, assistant GM Dan Morgan, and also Adrian Wilson, who's VP of player personnel. So is that a route they take? So you're still keeping someone in-house? I know Adrian Wilson has been mentioned by others too, though, in the past as being a possibility of places other than Carolina. So who knows? We'll see. I think that GM thing is still a big question mark. But it sounds like overwhelmingly a lot of people think he will be gone. It's just a matter of when it's going to actually happen. Yeah. But another side note to that, and might as well bring it up while we're talking about Scott Fitterer. Joe Person was on WFNZ with, I want to say it was with Kyle Bailey, and he was talking about, he mentioned possibilities or people that Carolina is could be interested in. Ben Johnson, obviously, Bobby Slowick, Frank Smith, and then Bailey asked him, "What about is a defensive coach totally 100% out of the running for this head coaching position?" And Joe Person said one name that he's been hearing is Dan Quinn, and he has ties to Scott Fitterer and Dan Morgan when they were in Seattle. So could Scott Fitterer and Dan Morgan stick around if Dan Quinn's the guy? And I know a lot of Panther fans would probably hate that decision because he came from Atlanta. He's kind of a retread coach. He is playing. I mean, he's had that defensive unit in Dallas playing really well the last couple of years. He's been mentioned several times in other head coaching vacancies. That's another name that I know people probably wouldn't like, but just to keep an eye on as this, because things are going to heat up once this season's over. Obviously, Panthers can't, I don't think the interviewing process slows down, and we'll get into this way more in the coming weeks, but they push the interview process back. I think it's like January 20th, something, when they can start interviewing coaches that are in the playoffs. So, or doing interviews. So it's going to be a while. It's going to take longer than we expected. So, but I want to get to this, something positive. Finally, let's talk about it. Pro Bowl was just announced. Carolina has 0 Pro Bowlers, but they do have alternates. Derek Brown is a first alternate. Probably should be a Pro Bowler. I mean, the guy's had a hell of a season. Not probably, he should be a Pro Bowler. There's no doubt about it. I just think Carolina being on the Panthers is holding him back. Brian Burns, a little shocked by this, to be totally honest with you, because he's had a down year. And then Johnny Hecker and then J.J. Jansen, man, the long snapper. Though all 4 of them are alternates. I think Brown will probably get in just based off of how things work with the Super Bowl and everything. But, yeah, a little disappointed he wasn't in there because he's been a top-tier defensive tackle in this league, no doubt about it.
Yeah, he's the only player that deserves it on this roster, and he's been elite all season in regards to run stop win rate. Getting pressures. He leads the league for defensive tackles in tackles. I think he's got 90 tackles as a DT, which is crazy. He's had his best season as an NFL player, and he definitely deserves to be a Pro Bowler. I think Brian Burns got in off of his name as an alternate. He's had his worst statistical career year since his rookie season in Carolina. He's not been good this year. I think they see his name and felt bad for the Panthers and put him on as an alternate. I don't know, but Johnny Hecker really hasn't been great all year either. Probably another guy that got in off his name. He's been hit and miss on his punts. I would say mostly they're good to decent, but it's not best in the league. J.J. Jansen hasn't had a bad snap since I've been alive, pretty much. So I'm not surprised on that. J.J. is
the legend,
one of the best long snappers in NFL history. So I'm happy that he's getting some recognition as well.
Has a long snapper ever made the Hall of Fame? Do we know that?
I don't know, but J.J. Jansen should.
Yeah, he's rock solid. Mind you, Hecker is a third alternate, so it's pretty far back.
Okay.
Burns is a second alternate, and I think Jansen's forgot what it was here. He might have been even a second or third.
I guess Brown's a first alternate.
Brown's first, Burns second, Hecker and Jensen are thirds. So, okay. Yeah, Brown got snubbed. I mean, he did. He's I would say top 4 in the NFL, D tackles in the league this year, just dominant. So, but that happens sometimes. Guys that play on really shitty teams that don't play in a massive market, they get kind of forgotten about, and it's happened before, and it continues to happen with the Panthers until they turn shit around. I mean, that's just the way it's going to be, which is real shitty, but it's a situation they're in. Let's talk about the game this weekend. We'll keep it quick here.
Well, but before we get into that real quick, I wanted to plug the kind of collaboration that we have going for this episode. I'm wearing it right now. This hoodie. I'm gonna stand up.
Yeah, show it off a little bit.
Carolina Panthers Unreal hoodie. There's the brand, the logo. You've seen Adam Thielen and Kurt Coleman post about it as well. They were nice enough to send Curtis and I each a hoodie to review and kind of share our thoughts on. And I'm really impressed with it. Honestly, I've worn it to work out multiple times and super comfortable, really stretchy, like kind of like Under Armour material. And I like that the hood is like it's completely rounded off. So it's protects your neck when it's, the wind's blowing and stuff, and it tightens. Real nice pocket on the front as well. It fits well. I would say it's pretty true to size. I honestly have had a hard time taking it off. I worked to work today. It's my favorite hoodie that I have now, and I think it's really genuinely worth it. It is a little pricey, but I think that you get what you pay for, and this is a really good product that's really well made, and I think they're limited edition. They're not making a whole lot of them, so if you do have an opportunity to get one, get yourself one. I need to get yours, Curtis. They mailed them to me, and I know you're going to love it when you get it, but yeah, I mean, truly do like this product, and it's not just because they sent me one for free, but it is a really good product. And I was going to buy it anyways, and I just, I figured why not reach out and see if they wanted to do a collaboration, and they did. So super cool company, really, helping the small guys out, and I think it's worth at least giving it a shot. And hell, if you don't like it, just return it. And I think they got like a 30-day return policy. So I think look at it, Unreal again. It's unrl.com.
There it is.
There it is.
That is the hoodie across the board, the name of it. And what's funny is when Bryson told me about this, I remember seeing it on Adam Thielen's Instagram. I'm like, damn, that looks nice. I clicked on it, looked at it online, and then a Christmas miracle, Bryson texts me a week later and says, we're getting these things sent to us. I'm like, holy shit. So yeah, go check it out. I haven't obviously worn it yet, but it looks comfortable as hell.
Yeah, it is.
And it looks fresh. It's not it doesn't seem like your typical hoodie either. Isn't like the collar a little bit like higher up? Like, yeah, it looks great. I love it.
It's like circled off. Like it's not cut off right here. So it protects your neck. It's kind of like a turtleneck almost a little bit. And then the hood comes up over, of course. But yeah, I mean, I think it's for like when you're running, you don't get like, the wind on your neck, and it keeps you more warm and stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, it is super comfortable. And like I said, I've worn it to work out multiple times, played basketball in it. And it moves with you. It's comfortable. It's stretchy. Definitely a good fabric. And I wish I had more of these different styles and stuff. So hopefully they come out with more in the future. But yeah, I'm really impressed with the product. So just give it a look it up online and tell us what you think.
All right, let's go to the game this weekend. Bucks Panthers. Bucks are up for going for a playoff spot, right? They're still in it.
Yeah, correct? I think so.
I don't know what the ramifications are because I truly don't care about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but I believe they got some skin in the game left, and they're playing for something. So This game is going to mean something to them. What do we got in this one? I mean, Baker's coming back. I'm sure there's going to be – I know he's hurt. He's got a rib injury right now. I'm sure he's going to play. What do you got in this one? What do you expect?
Yeah, it's hard to get excited for this game. I genuinely, it's the last time we're going to see the Carolina Panthers for 8 months, and I honestly could care less to watch it, but I'm going to in hopes that Bryce Young puts another game together like he did versus Green Bay. It looks like the Bucs are favored by 4.5. They're 8-8. I think if they win, they're in. They may need a Saints loss. I'm not sure because the Saints just whooped them. But, I think that they're fighting for a wild card spot because the NFC overall is having a down year. So, yeah, I mean, Baker's had a really good season. I'm happy for him. I've always supported Baker. I like him. He was, from all reports, a great teammate in Carolina. and dealt with a lot of shit here, and then has succeeded elsewhere, and I'm happy for him. I'd hate that it's with the Bucs, a division rival, but I mean, I think Baker should be comeback player of the year. Honestly, he's coming back from being a Carolina Panther, and he's done a really good job with it this season. So, the Bucs are playing really well. Mike Evans, of course, has had another great year. Their defense is playing good. I don't think Carolina wins this game. I'll wait to give my prediction, but yeah, I think the Bucs come in and take care of business.
Yeah, I just want to go back to this because I was the quote-unquote Baker bro. We both really were. I wanted him here. I wanted that trade. That was the one trade I didn't mind from Scott Fitterer because they really didn't give up a whole hell of a lot for him.
Yeah.
Obviously struggled last year in Carolina, but I mean, wholeheartedly believe that it just was not a fit systematically for him.
Mm-hmm.
You look at his statistics this year, 3,900 yards, 28 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. That's solid. I mean, if we had that in Carolina, we'd love every minute of it right now. So
yeah,
Baker Mayfield was everything I thought he was. And I just want to be on the record with that because I know he has gotten a lot of flack and all the people that didn't want him here. And then he had a really bad season and they were, jumping down our throats. And look what he did this year when he's got, competent players around him and a competent coaching staff offensively. So just hats off to him. Hate that he's on the Bucs. Love the dude. I thought his leadership and what I feel like he totally changed when he came to Carolina. You didn't see any of what you heard, reports, rumors, whatever you want to call him in Cleveland. He was nothing but just a total, good dude, all around leader in Carolina when he's here. And it was a very short stint. So just can't speak more highly of him because of that. Yeah, I'll be at the game Sunday. I'm just going to hang out. I really am. If all I want to see is I hope Bryce improves, obviously, from last game. It shouldn't take much. Don't want him getting hurt. You need to go into the offseason healthy. He's going to have a new playbook. This offense is going to be ripped to shreds. It's not going to matter. Just go in and improve from what you did last week. And I hope there's no major injuries across the board for this team because we saw it last year and it clearly killed us this year. Brady Christensen in the last game and Austin Corbett both out, season-ending injuries, and both those guys are not playing right now because they've been re-injured. So this game, the biggest thing that can happen is guys come out of this game healthy because this coaching staff, as much as people like them, they're all going to be gone. I don't see any of them. I'd be shocked if they returned. I really do. I know there's been reports out there of some coordinators staying and stuff like that, but I think, Bryce is going to have a whole new playbook that he's probably learning in this offseason. And thankfully he's not a rookie, so he can get his hands on it and get to work. And I'm actually looking forward to seeing it. And it sucks that Mingo's hurt right now. I don't know the severity. He was obviously put on IR, but I hope him and Mingo and Bryce can really get together this offseason, kind of build and get that rapport and that chemistry for next season. Because I know people are down and out on Mingo, but I don't think I think there's room for this guy to really step it up in his second season. But let's get to predictions. What do you got in this one?
I'm going to go Bucs 24, Panthers 10.
Bucs 24, Panthers 10. Yeah, that's a good score. I'm gonna go bigger than that. Let's go 28-13. Bucs win. I don't think Carolina's got a chance. Bucs fighting for something. It'd be cool to see the Panthers play spoiler and get that third win. And I think they'll be the first team, if they don't get the win, the first team to go 2-15 or whatever. 2-15 is it? Since the league expanded the schedules. But just looking ahead, just to give folks heads up, over these next couple of weeks, we're going to be after this game, heavily involved in coaches. And hopefully we can start featuring some of these coaches every week and kind of dive in on each of these candidates, because that's going to ramp up here very quickly. And, I mean, it's going to come quick, and we're kind of used to this at this point. This is the second year in a row we're talking about head coach searches, and the unfortunate thing at this moment is they don't have a first-round pick, so we can't even really talk about that. And it's kind of a big waiting game to see what they do, and what they do with Scott Fitterer. So we'll get into all that over these next couple of weeks, but we just want to thank everyone for tuning in to the Panthers on Tap podcast. You can catch our episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Panthers on Tap. Go give us a follow on Twitter at Panthers on Tap for all your analysis and breaking news. And as always,